Alright, I have torn down the Model K and in the process destroyed it. However, they're available for about 20 bucks on eBay. So I feel like the knowledge I gained was worth the 20 bucks. Here's what you need to know. Take the handle off, the winding handle. All you do is you wind backwards and it threads out. You need to take these 3 screws out, and then it's necessary to take, I guess you don't really need to take that out, that doesn't affect anything. That's the holder for the winding handle. But this thing here has to come out. It's held in by 3 teeny tiny screws. I don't think I've ever seen smaller screws. So you take that out, and that eliminates all connection between the case except for the most important fasteners. The most important fasteners don't seem like fasteners at all. They are the 2 little crazy viewfinder things, but they're pretty deep and they thread into the internal frame through the case, and if you don't take them out you can't get the internal frame out. And so I didn't remove them and ended up damaging the case taking it out. So one little mystery here though is this feeler for the footage counter. So it pivots and causes this shaft on the footage counter to rotate, and the indicator is spring loaded. So if you assemble this with the thing not set to the correct footage setting, you get a false reading. So anyhow, so basically you slide, once you have everything disconnected, you slide the whole mechanism back and then you kind of lift it out like that. That's more easily said than done. See, it's kind of tricky. You've got to clear the tripod thing there. So ideally this thing would just slide that way and disengage the gear. So you got to slide that way just a little bit, and then you got to start swinging up to get out to clear the tripod thing. There we go. See, it's a little tricky because as you slide, God, I wish I had another hand. As you slide these pegs through the holes in the case, they tend to get caught up on the little recess, or whatever you want to call it there, the flange. So I think I can get one of these apart without destroying it next time. Anyhow, the mechanism is, you can almost lubricate everything without taking it apart. The only lubrication point that isn't accessible with the case on is that one there. All the other ones are, I think, let's see. No, there's 2 that you can't get to. This one and this one. Those are accessible. This is accessible. Oh, also that one. So there's a bunch that aren't accessible. And it looks to me like you just need to lubricate those little bronze bushings. And I don't know if there needs to be any lube on the gears or not. maybe a little light grease. So the thing that really strikes me about this whole mechanism is that everything is stamped, unlike better cameras which have machined aluminum and steel parts. This is all just a bunch of stampings. I guess it's possible to hold things in spec reasonably well with these little spacers. I don't know, that seems a little shady. But it's pretty damn simple. So you've got a spring motor, and you've got a little governor here, and there's the drive shaft for the cam that runs the claw. And let's see, where's the gear? So that's the main, the big shaft there is for the sprocket. God, this is just so simple. Now I want to buy another one and lubricate it properly and see how well it runs. Alright, so as for the rest, this thing likes to pop back. As for the rest, we can more or less put it together. So the gate, yeah. So there's the pressure plate, and there's a little pin there, and then, well, see, you got to put it all in at once. So there's two holes there that correspond with pins on this thing there, and then once that's in, this screw goes here to hold things together. Okay, that's snug. And then this is easy peasy. So this is the claw assembly. You can see the two little teeth there. And it's spring loaded. And so this just slides down on there. And so you have to slide it down that shaft and get the bushing on that shaft at the same time. And there's two little washers. One goes below the bottom part and the other goes above the top part. And then there's a screw that goes in to hold it all together. And that's about all there is to it. I mean, you've got the sprocket and little guides here. Oh, I see. So rather than just disassembling everything, you can pull up on this and pivot that out. So that's how you open it to thread it. I thought it was like a K100 where you just jam it in, but it opens. Nice. What a beautiful little camera. Alright, someday I'll get a setup with a tripod and lighting and make videos where you can actually see what the hell I'm doing. In a nutshell, I guess the most important thing is that to get this thing apart, you have to take out those two little things. That's the key to everything. That's what holds it together, is those two little threaded brass thingamabobs. So now you know. Alright, I got off my ass and I got a tripod. Whoops. A junky tripod. And the lighting is terrible. But I've put it back together, and you can see there's lube everywhere. I just used some 3-in-1 silicone, which is an absolutely inappropriate lubricant for this, but I knew it would. It's very runny, and I knew it would dissolve the crap that was on here from before, and it did. It works fine. So this is kind of an interesting little camera. So we wind up the spring here. And I'm not really sure what that's doing. So I turn that. Okay, so that's winding it's winding the center shaft of the motor. So we're spooling the spring down onto the center. And it doesn't have a stop like a Bolex, it just goes until, you can overwind it if you want, I suppose, but anyhow, you just go until you get resistance. So now I've wound up the spring inside the spring motor, and I press the shutter key, or the start key, or lever, or button, or whatever you want to call it, and so then the motor begins to rotate. How does that work? So it's just grabbing a tooth, I'm sure. Yeah, so the start lever just, come on, focus. It's just got one tooth, and it stops the motor, prevents the motor from moving. But anyhow, so then that turns the shaft of the sprocket, and also the shaft of the this thing here that moves the claw. I have no vocabulary today. Anyhow, it's a neat little camera. The only problem is that it's only 16 frames per second. It does not have an adjustable governor. So there's only one, there's only one cast or die cast precision part in this whole camera, and it's here, the lens mount, and that's it. The rest is just stamped. Well, of course the gears are cut, but it's a very nice, simple little camera. That's how you move, that's how you open up the sprocket. And then the gate, I guess you just push the film in. The gate is spring loaded, you just push the film in, I guess. You could position the claw out of the way, I suppose. No, you can't. It rests there with the teeth in the gate. That's kind of odd. So how are you supposed to get the film in with the teeth in the way? See, I think a better resting place would be there, with the claws out of the way. So, are you supposed to unscrew the... Are you supposed to take the screw out when you're loading the film? That might be the case. Doesn't seem likely. Would they really want people taking screws out to load film? No. No way. It's kind of interesting. Extremely simple. Alright, so remember, the key to disassembling the thing is you got to take these things out. These little eyepiece or viewfinder thingies. That's what holds the whole damn thing together. That and the 3 screws. You can see that I bent the whole darn thing. It's all out of whack. But I think I probably paid about 20 bucks for it. It's well worth 20 bucks to find out how to take it apart. Of course, if I could have found a manual online, it wouldn't ruin it, but I didn't find one. Alright, that's that. Alright, I tore it down just a tiny bit more to get a look at the shutter. Pretty complicated. So this is the only part that is like substantial. Looks like it's die cast. I didn't know they had die casting in 1920 or 1931. I guess they did. So that is the shutter housing. I'm a little puzzled by the take-up spool here. There's no slippage in it. So you've got this little garter spring being used as a belt, and I don't know what the ratio is of rotations of the capstan, or whatever you want to call it, to the shaft here, but obviously as the diameter of the wound film increases, the shaft would need to go slower and slower, but there doesn't seem to be any provision for slippage here, so I'm a little curious about that. I guess I can't get it to slip, but it's just the garter spring slipping on the pulley. That doesn't seem very scientific. Seems like the garter spring would wear out and the pulleys. Let's watch it transport film. It's a little crude, it turns out. See the film, what the hell? It comes out of the sprocket here and then twists. There's this little triangular bar here. I'm not sure why it can't stay in the same plane as the hub of the spool. That doesn't make any sense to me. That's weird. It's not winding worth a damn. WTF. Where's the letter? I don't get it. Hmm.